Which do you think is bigger? PlayStation Pass subscriptions or Breath of the Wild 2 delayed, which we somehow completely omitted. Yeah. Breath of the Wild, let's go.
You want Breath of the Wild? Okay. Let me
Breath of the Wild 2 delayed.
2 delay.
So if you recall, Breath of the Wild 2 was originally scheduled for a 2022 launch, but we had the game's producer, Eiji Onuma, release a video basically saying that they need to take more time and that the game will now only launch in spring 2023, which is basically March to June 2023.
Yeah. It's like a whole year. Yeah.
Essentially. And this ties in with what I said earlier, like, boy, the Switch is going to be
real
6 and a bit years old by then, and we are in. I don't think in dire need. I don't think it's dire, but I think a Switch revision or a Switch 2 with slightly more powerful hardware will go a long way to that. Or Breath of the Wild 2 is the swan song for the Switch. You know what I mean?
Like
it opened up the Switch. It ends off the Switch. Although it surely can't end off the Switch when we've got games like Metroid Prime 4 still like kicking around. So, but yeah, there was some new footage in here. You got to see like Link with a sort of corrupted Master Sword. Like that thing looks rusted AF. I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, it's just wild to me that they literally blew everyone away by teasing this in 2019.
Yeah, E3, that was too early. It's too early.
It was too early. It was way too early. It's the same with Metro Prime 4. That was 2018 or 2017.
Yeah.
And it was like, my dudes, what are you doing? Like,
just relax. Nah. Just relax.
I mean, there's still a lot coming out this year on Switch. You've got Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 3, maybe. Who the fuck knows anymore?
Mario has been weirdly absent this year.
Yeah, Mario.
So I think we might get a shadow drop of a something. I don't know what, but
Odyssey was the last big core Mario game.
Bowser's Fury 2, let's go.
We are due one. We've got new Pokemon generation coming out this year. Can you believe it? Listen, I need Bayonetta 3 to be good.
Yep, and that's I think it'll be good. It's just we'll let it come out.
And the game that Platinum Games just launched, Babylon's Fall's not good.
Not good.
And I'm just like, fuck. Fuck's
Look,
sake.
A delay is always a hard pill to swallow, but when you look at games like more recently, look, I don't think Ghostwire Tokyo was rushed, right? But it feels like some development shit happened there that maybe more time would have helped. I don't know. But you get games like that. You get, obviously, there's the whole Cyberpunk fiasco, which I think that is the one that really gave people food for thought of like, we can't rush games out the door. Like, we really have to take the time to polish them up.
What's confusing about that scenario as well, though, is like, so we missed this last week because
we're away.
I was away, but the CD Projekt Red basically announced that their next game is a Witcher game, and it's a new saga, and that they're switching from their internal engine, the Red engine, to Unreal Engine 5, and I bet we're going to hear a story about how that engine was completely like, listen. It makes sense. They're an independent studio, and maintaining your own internal engine is a time sink of dramatic proportions. So I don't blame them for doing that. But at the same time, when they were, in the post-mortem of Cyberpunk, they said, oh, we announced this game way too early. We will not do that again. Did they not just fucking do that again?
Unless The Witcher 4 is coming out next year.
There's no fucking way. No there's no way that game's out for the next 3 years. So like,
you never know.
People don't learn their lessons, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, I think it was silly of them to announce it, if it is that early. But I feel like The Witcher's probably been kicking around for a long time. They might have a smaller team. They might have had a smaller team working on it now that Cyberpunk is, somewhat it's not entirely wrapped up, obviously. They're still going to do DLC, and they've just recently launched on PS5 and Xbox properly. But I do feel that, with this focus off Cyberpunk, they might just be able to bring in more members to just focus on what I believe. I mean, I have to believe there's some prototyping or talking already happening.
not having like maybe a third of the team working just on engine tech. You know what
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean?
that too. It frees up a whole
You
lot of
know, and
workforce.
then
So,
development isn't waiting on internal tech to be developed for them to use it. You know, they'll be working with Epic to kind of like fast track that. But you know, the Unreal Engine 5 maybe has a lot of the tools that they already need for scaling to next gen. So you know, I don't
yeah.
blame them for doing that, and I think it's a good move, even though like their engine was really pretty. Like Cyberpunk can be really, really pretty, but it's also fucked up in many weird ways.
In
So
so many
yeah.
ways. But yeah, let's move on to the other news that we thought to maybe headline with, which I don't have open for some reason. Damn it.
Sony announces new PlayStation Plus subscriptions.
Why do I not have this
Um,
open?
so yeah, this is kind of what Spartacus. If you've been following rumors, there was a report late last year about Sony announcing a subscription service that, you know, people said, okay, this is their rival to Xbox Game Pass. And that was codenamed Spartacus. This is kind of it. And it is not, to me, a competitor to Game Pass because it doesn't even come close. If you had to compare the two directly, it doesn't. It's not the same.
No.
Like it doesn't offer the same value. I think the big thing here is that, you know, exclusives aren't day one on the service. And that's a big thing. That's, you know, what a lot of people look at Xbox Game Pass for, and they're like, that's a, you know, that is its killer feature.
Yeah.
And this isn't that, you know what I mean?
But
So
also, sorry, just to interrupt you and put it into perspective, like Microsoft can get away with it because they have a ton more money. Like,
yeah,
Sony's big, right? But Microsoft is way
they're also, their
exponentially
exclusives
bigger.
are different.
Yeah,
you know,
but you know what I mean? They can afford to throw money into that, I feel, because they're a much bigger company. Where Sony's big, but it's not Microsoft big. They're not shipping.
But if you look at Sony's like, you know, I know in the past I've said this service is a non-starter without day one exclusives, and I still kind of think that. I don't think this service is an upsell to people who are already subscribed to PS Plus.
Exactly.
It is not a thing that gets people thinking, oh, I should buy PlayStation instead of Xbox in the way that Game Pass has done that for Xbox.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you know, PlayStation's exclusives, the ones that, you know, are marquee ones, are all single player games. So putting them on the service with no way to get money from them after the fact is kind of like, I get where the math comes in, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to work, especially with the amount of money Sony invests into these exclusives. It's massive.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at Xbox, you've got, you know, like Halo Infinite was released for free, and Halo the campaign is on Game Pass, but that game is supported by microtransactions after the fact. So there's ways for them to get money. Same with Gears of War, same with Forza. You know, they are different types of games.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what's confusing is that Jim Ryan says that they think that live service games are better than, you know, subscriptions for the future. So to me, that's an indication that their exclusives are going to change to a similar model to Microsoft's anyway. And if you're talking about live service games, what's the thing that keeps a live service game going? It's the lowering of the barrier to entry. That's why you've got like Destiny 2, its base game is free to play. Fortnite, free to play. You know, you want people in that ecosystem so that they spend on the microtransactions. So if you're going to make people pay $70 for a live service game and then ask them for money, why aren't those games part of the service free?
With that in mind, Gran Turismo 7 will be day one on that service, without a doubt, because
it has to be.
Yeah.
Like Gran Turismo is a really good example of Sony charging $70 for a live service game that then is a bad live service game on top of it. So it's like, there's a bit of a clash of ideas there. I don't understand how Jim Ryan can say they believe in live service games, but not in day one exclusives on the service, when that's kind of the point. Like, you want people in the door. If you're putting a $70 barrier to entry, and then on top of it, you're developing 6 live service games. So that's a lot already. Like,
yeah,
I don't think all of those will survive. So we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but there's essentially 3 tiers of the service. PlayStation Plus Essential.
That's just includes OG PlayStation
It's
Plus,
basically
really,
what PlayStation Plus is now. You've got multiplayer access, the downloadable games per month, cloud storage, which I still cannot believe is behind a paid tier service. That's just fucking crazy to
Nintendo's
me.
the same, right?
Yeah, Nintendo's the same.
Yeah.
Why, guys? Like, Jesus. Like, anyway. Then you get PlayStation Plus Extra, which includes everything in Plus, plus an access to a catalog of up to 400 PS4 or PS5 games. So that increases from $9 a month to $15 a month, or $60 a year to $100 a year. They don't specify which games. Those are PS4 and PS5 games. So yeah. Then you get PlayStation Plus Premium. Includes all the benefits of Essential and Extra, plus an additional 340 games that are comprised of PS3 titles, PS2 titles, original PlayStation titles, and PSP games. Asterisk here is that PS3 games can only be streamed. They cannot be downloaded. And that will only be available in regions where PlayStation Now streaming is available. So not South Africa.
Yeah.
For regions like that, there is a different offering, which is called PlayStation Plus Premium Deluxe, I think, or PlayStation Plus Deluxe, which is slightly cheaper, but you don't get the PS3 titles.
Yeah, but even just my knee-jerk reaction to this, why are the classic games tiered behind the highest tier? Like,
it's bad.
It to me, it feels like cool. You can have PlayStation Plus Premium, right? If you want, it's got everything. But why is it not another tier? It's like, I just want PS Plus and the classic games, for example. Like, I just want to dabble with the classic games. I don't know why they slap it on the highest tier. It's weird.
And then on top of it, you can only play these games while you're subscribed.
Yep.
So say you own a huge collection of PS2 games or PS3 games or whatever. You can't just pop in the disc and play a supported game. And again, this comes back to the comparison to Xbox. This isn't even part of Game Pass. This is just an Xbox feature. They just like, you got an original Xbox game, you got a 360 game, you pop that disc in. If it's a backwards compatible title, it works. It downloads the game and you can play it as long as the disc is there. Or you can buy it outright. You can buy the games you want. This one's like, no, we've got a rotating service. You have to be subscribed, and then if the game that you like actually gets taken off the service, well, fucking tough luck. And then on top of it, the pricing is weird. So the monthly price for PlayStation Plus Premium is more expensive than Game Pass. It's $18 a month as opposed to $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
But then it's cheaper on a per year basis. So I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that's weird. But
so
even
at launch,
the PlayStation Plus Extra, which is that to me is probably the Game Pass competitor. It's $5 more than Game Pass. Isn't Game Pass $10 a month?
Yeah, if you're just having it on Xbox, it's $10. If you want Ultimate, then it's the same price, but that gives you access on PC as well.
Yeah.
So at launch, Sony plans to include games like Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal onto the service. So to me, that gives me an indication that exclusives that are a year or a year plus older might be put on the service. But Sony hasn't given a sort of indication of like, maybe there's a standard that after 6 months, they just pop the game on the service. That would be cool.
Yeah.
If they confirm that, then it's not the same as day one, but it's something.
But Ghost of Tsushima, for example, is not here. Hasn't been mentioned, and that's a year, 2 years old now.
Yeah. So what's weird? So I think it's not mentioned there because Ghost of Tsushima is on that PlayStation Plus collection
is it there
on PS5 anyway.
Okay.
So whereas all of these games aren't.
Okay.
So I think that's why, because you can already access that through PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
So PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan suggests Sony's own games could suffer if they went straight to PlayStation on day one. He says, quote, in terms of putting our games into the service or any of our services upon their release, as you well know, this is not a road that we've gone down in the past, and it's not a road we're going down with this new service. We feel if we want to do that with games that we make at PlayStation Studios, the virtuous cycle will be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want. However, he then says later in that interview that they think live service is the future. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I just don't know. they bought Bungie. They recently bought Haven, Jade Raymond studio, and both of those studios are working on live service games. And they've said they want to launch 6 live service games by 2026. So
Sure.
they are all in on that.
Yeah.
And those are very different to the exclusives that they're talking about here. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I have this strong feeling that within a year the service is different.
It changes. I also
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Well, let's
We'll
see.
see.
In other PlayStation news, PlayStation VR2 is hot.
Yeah, this
it.
blog just kind of launched. I guess getting ready for some imminent announcement.
Yeah, because we know of PSVR2, right? But then this full-on blog post just dropped with a breakdown of all of
everything,
all of the headsets features, the controllers features. No release date yet, but still very excited to see what PSVR2 does. Very excited that it's one cable.
I mean, there were a lot of things going around this week about being a big week for PlayStation, and it was. They announced the PlayStation Plus subscription stuff, but then the other 2 rumors were talks of a big acquisition.
Oh yeah,
not sure who. And then the other was that there was going to be a PSVR 2 state of play because apparently it was demoed to developers at GDC, which was last week.
Okay.
So I think this is Sony prepping for something like that. Yeah.
Do you think this comes out this year?
I think it does. I think this comes out end of the year.
Nice.
I think when you've got the hardware finalized in a way like this and you've already announced at least one game for it, I think this is, they're going to push probably for a December release or maybe a January to March in 2023.
Yeah.
I love everything about this design. The fact that it's inside out tracking now, that it's a single cable connection. Yes, it's not wireless, but it's also driving 4K and HDR. So like I can live with a single USB-C connection. That's fine. And then it's got like stuff that other VR headsets don't have yet, like eye tracking, finger touch detection, which is what the Valve Index does. Like this looks like it's going to be expensive.
It's packing a bit of a punch here.
Yeah, but this looks like a worthy successor to PSVR.
Yeah.
So yeah, very keen.
Cool. Keep an eye out for that. Well, as of recording, yesterday was April 1st. And in a cool, disappointing April 1st news, Metal Gear 35th anniversary site was a prank.
And not a prank by Konami.
No.
Because Konami doesn't give a shit about Metal Gear Solid anymore.
Oh my god, yeah.
Someone just made this website and it was confirmed that Konami were not affiliated with the site. So any hope of a sort of
Metal Gear
35th like celebration? Zero.
They've slapped were they selling like NFTs? Well, they were joking.
Yeah, they were making fun of Konami's Castlevania NFT project. I do like those little autocons. They're very good. Yeah.
Cool. In very cool news for South Africa, Disney Plus is finally hitting our shores. We've waited so long for this. So long. I mean,
it feels like
2-3 years. Did Disney Plus come out before COVID? Was it BC or AC? We have to.
Yeah. BC or AC. I actually don't know. When was the first season of The Mandalorian? Because it launched with The Mandalorian.
That was before.
So it was
COVID.
November 2019. So yeah, it was before COVID.
Okay, so finally, almost 3 years later, 2.5 to 3 years later, we're getting it in South Africa. It's going to cost. Where did I see?
I think it's 120.
Yeah, I think it's
per month.
It's 110 or 120.
Yeah, there we go. The service will cost you
120
a month or 1,190 a year.
Not bad at all.
So it will cost you in a year what DSTV charges monthly?
DSTV monthly is 800 rand.
Yeah, get fucked.
Yeah, not cool.
Yeah, very excited. And this is earlier than expected. I think we had been hearing
like May,
July.
June. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So 18th of May, that means it will come out just
before
in
Kenobi,
time or just after Kenobi. Yeah, the premiere at least, because they do it weekly. So yeah. Also included, we're going to get access to Stars content, which is not available in all regions. Essentially, Stars is like programs of Disney's that are on other platforms that, it doesn't deem appropriate for Disney Plus specifically. So you
True, yeah.
get exclusives from Hulu, from Fox, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So that's also really cool.
That's cool. So yeah. Back to gaming news. I think you are excited for this. Hyperlight Breaker has been announced for early access in 2020. And it's releasing in 2023.
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
speaking
Yeah.
of good Zelda games, so Hyperlight Drifter is like a 2D Zelda action game. Very fucking good, beautiful visuals, just amazing. And the studio behind it, I think it's Machine Heart Games. They released last year a 3D
Heart
game.
Machine.
Heart Machine, sorry. They released a 3D game called Solar Ash, which is sort of like a 3D roller skating through apocalyptic combat stuff. It looked great. So now to me, it looks like they took what they learned there and were just like, cool, let's make a Hyperlight Drifted sequel in 3D. And that's what Hyperlight Breaker is. So fucking excited for that. Looks great.
Cool.
It's coming spring 2023.
Nice. It's not coming in 2022 though. E3. It has been cancelled, and
RIP 3.
a planned digital version of E3 won't happen this year. So is E3 just done now, like officially, or is it coming back
Well, this
next year?
is the first time the expo's been cancelled or hasn't taken place since 1995. So, I mean, they still have the lease. The ESA still has the lease for the LACC to 2023, so they could do something next year. But I think this is it. I think this is done. The ESA has so many problems internally. Like that organization as a whole is just not kind of adapted in tune with the studios that it's meant to represent, which is super confusing.
I also think people like Jeff Keighley stepped in and just I think we can thank Nintendo for their direct. That's sort of set. I think it's a good formula, like an online direct, cool, and people have just sort of followed that. And COVID just showed people like we can announce stuff with less fuss, less money, and still get the coverage. Like from a practical point of view, I'll miss E3 because I love that week of hype.
Yeah, absolutely.
But from a company point of view, I've said it time and time again. Why would you choose to announce everything in the week why would you choose to announce your game in a week where everything else is getting announced when you could just pick a date in the calendar, have your own showcase, and get all the news coverage around it? You're not fighting for headlines. I don't know.
No, I 100% agree. I love that week of hype. I felt like it was always the sort of like kick to like get me through the rest of the year. And I feel incredibly grateful that
we got to go.
That we got to go. You went the one time. You went to Gamescom multiple times. I went to E3 multiple times. I do think it's gone though. RIP 3.
Pour one out.
It was great. Pour one out.
I mean, it might. You never know if it doesn't come back next year.
I'm gonna go to the steps of the LACC and just pour out a beer, a Budweiser Light. Just.
I mean, look, if it doesn't come back next year, it might be a thing of like 5-10 years. We find, people go, oh, we miss having this week to announce everything. It comes back.
Jeff Keighley's having a fucking great time because he used this time to just remind people that Summer Games Fest is happening. So
he's like, it's a darn shame. So anyways, Summer Games
Fest. The amount of fucking shade that man has thrown at E3 is unreal. I aspire to be that fucking.
What would Jeff Keighley
brash?
do?
Yeah.
But yeah,
what a man.
I think that is news.
Small Canadian man with the biggest fucking. I'm not gonna say ego because he seems like a cool dude, but just my goodness.
Yeah. Cool.
He is a cool dude. We met him. He's nice.
He is very cool.
He's very short.
He's teeny tiny.